Today's episode is brought to you by Canby Foursquare Church. Since 1978, a place to grow, connect, and serve. In-person services are back with some restrictions to help ensure everyone stays safe and healthy. For the latest, visit their website at canbyfoursquare.com.
Welcome to Now Hear This Canby,
your source for news.
The threat of a possible teacher strike was avoided this week.
There's a new, irresistibly cute creature winning over fans, and its name is Scootaloo.
Sports?
It's like Lucy in the football. You want to kick a field goal, if they take it away from you.
We had to learn how to win.
Goal can't be in the last second of the game!
And interesting conversations.
Because I'm one of the strongest girls ever, and I know that for a fact.
I just really enjoy writing gossip as if I was a bear.
With an old maid daughter that make the best moonshine in the coast.
And if it would have hit me in the face, I think I would have died. I really do.
I guarantee you would have died, man. Are you kidding me?
Hey friends, and welcome to Now Hear This Canby. I'm James Walton. Thanks for listening, and this is what's happening this week in our community. State transportation officials are hailing Congress's passage of a $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill pushed by Democratic President Joe Biden last week, saying it will bring more than $1 billion in funding for Oregon roads, bridges, and transit. The state is still analyzing the bill to determine exactly how much funding ODOT will receive and where it will spend the money, but officials say the funds will be pointed at projects benefiting drivers, transit riders, cyclists, and pedestrians. The Oregon Department of Transportation said it also plans to use portions of the funding to help maintain roads and bridges and address climate change. Nationally, the bill includes funding for roads, bridges, ports, rail transit, safe water, the power grid, broadband internet, and more, with promises to reach almost every corner of the country. It's a historic investment that the president has compared to the building of the Transcontinental Railroad and interstate highway system, and the White House has projected it will add an average of about 2 million jobs per year over the coming decade. All of Oregon's congressional delegation voted for the infrastructure package, with the exception of Cliff Bentz, the state's lone Republican representative. Oregon Transportation Commission Chair Bob Van Brocklin called it, quote, the largest infrastructure finance bill in history, and will allow the state to make real progress on Oregon's transportation priorities. Once signed by the president, the $1.2 trillion bill will allow ODOT to address a number of major challenges in our state, Van Brocklin said in a statement. Specifically, some $1.2 billion will be allocated to our state in the next 5 years for highway and bridge construction and maintenance, safety improvements, mass transit investments, bicycle and pedestrian facilities, electric vehicle charging stations, and efforts to reduce carbon emissions from transportation sources. Key measures of the bill include $5 billion to secure the country's power grid from extreme weather and natural disasters to prevent severe wildfires, and another $5 billion to help farmers, ranchers, and communities respond to drought. In Oregon, $162 million will be allocated for Klamath habitat restoration work through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and $250 million will be secured to improve drinking water quality and services for tribal communities in Oregon and nationwide, including specific help for the emergency water situation on the Warm Springs Reservation. And just like that, the downtown Canby Railroad Quiet Zone and Grant Street Gateway Arch project is 1/3 done. Work was completed at the Elm Street Railroad crossing and Highway 99E intersection last week, including the installation of a new railroad flashing lighting and horns for pedestrians, a 12-inch concrete median to separate travel lanes, new sidewalks, and repaving. The contractor and Canby Public Works have since shifted their focus to Grant Street, which was fully closed to traffic on Monday and is expected to remain blocked through November 29th, depending on the weather. Ivy Street will then be closed to install the remainder of the quiet zone improvements and resurfacing. The footings and flagstone pillars for the arch will be constructed as part of the Grant Street closure to help minimize the impact to motorists traveling into and out of downtown Canby. The prefabricated metal arch itself is currently being made and will be transported to Canby and installed at a later date, likely in mid to late December, according to City Administrator Scott Archer. At Wednesday's City Council meeting, Archer apologized to residents and commuters for the traffic disruptions and predicted the project will be complete sometime shortly after the start of the new calendar year. Designed by Scott Edwards Architecture, the Gateway Arch will feature a blend of existing aesthetics from the downtown core with a Canby sign and a minimalist design inspired by the Encinitas Archway in California. It will include color-changing LED lighting and the ability to host signage to advertise city events and promotions. Funded by the urban renewal dollars, the project is an economic development tool that the city leaders hope will entice motorists passing on Highway 99E to visit and patronize downtown merchants and restaurants. Also aimed at improving livability and economic viability downtown, the Quiet Zone project involves installing a new safety mechanisms and other upgrades to the railroad crossings at Elm, Grant, and Ivy Streets that would make it so train engineers are no longer required to sound their horns at each intersection. They may still sound the horn in emergency situations or to comply with other federal rules. The project is being completed by Lee Contractors of Battleground, Washington, which submitted the low bid of just under $800,000 in January of 2021. Clackamas County and its health partners are hosting a pop-up COVID-19 testing site through the end of the year at the Clackamas County Fairgrounds. The site will be open Thursday through Monday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. No insurance or identification is required. The tests are free with or without insurance. Canby Fire Division Chief Matt English said the site will be drive-through and will rely on established processes the district has developed to ensure efficiency as well as safe distancing between the paramedics and the patients. English said the site is ideal due to the amount of space, convenient location, and the ability to land a life flight air ambulance in the event of emergency medical situation. Those interested in visiting the site are advised that it will not be offering rapid testing options or COVID-19 vaccinations. Information about the vaccine or local availability can be found at covidvaccine.oregon.gov. For those of us in the process of digging ourselves out from the Yard Tree's annual fall bounty, we have some good news. The city of Canby is holding a free leaf drop-off day from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday, November 20th at the Canby Public Works facility, which is located at 1470 North Territorial Road. Public Works will accept leaves only and ask that the residents please ensure there are no sticks or yard debris in their drop-off materials. Loose leaves will be accepted from trailers or truck beds or bagged in biodegradable paper bags. The event is for Canby residents only and proof of residency will be required. Please, no businesses or contractors. The city has wanted to provide this service for a long time, and I want to thank City Administrator Scott Archer for allowing us to provide this benefit to the community, said Public Works Director Jerry Nelson. It is great to be able to provide a location for residents to drop their leaves. We were able to see how the drop-off points helped during the ice storm, and that enabled us to put this leaf drop-off into motion. The Canby Public Works Department hopes providing the service to residents will also support the local community, as well as help reduce the wear and tear on the city's street sweeper. For more information, please contact the Canby Public Works Department at 503-266-0789. One of the only, if not the only, long-term care facilities in the state to open during the coronavirus pandemic, Marquee Hope Village Memory Care in Canby celebrated its one-year anniversary this August. The 13,000 square foot, 24-bed facility was actually in the works years before COVID-19, but the pandemic hit just as administrators were seeking licensing approval to open. It has been an interesting journey, to say the least. We were slated to open in April of 2020. Memory Care Administrator Melissa Larondo said with a laugh. So, obviously, we saw some hiccups with that, but it turned out to be kind of a blessing in disguise. The newly completed facility became temporary lodging for employees during the early months of the pandemic, allowing support staff from outside the area to stay nearby between shifts or allowing local workers an option if they were concerned about exposing their families. The purpose was to give marquee companies a fuller and more well-rounded continuum of care on their Hope Village campus, which now offers everything from post-acute rehab to assisted living and memory care. Just as dementia looks a little different for each individual and family who experiences it, so too does the care at Marquee Hope Village. Oh, it's very tailored to what their needs are, Larondo explained. Prior to somebody moving in, we spend a lot of time with their families. We get to know who they used to be, what's happened since their diagnosis, what kind of journey they've had, things that the family has experienced, the good and the bad. Marquee's care team is critical to this mission. Fortunately, they are up to the task. The staff that I have here are incredible, Larondo said. They're a whole other level of caregiver because this is a very vulnerable population. This is a group of folks that can't necessarily make their needs known, so being able to be proactive instead of reactive, knowing their life so well that you know what they need even when they can't articulate it, it's a whole new level of care, for sure. Marquee Hope Village boasts a total of 24 beds, secure outdoor courtyards and gardens, robust activity programming, and individualized 24-hour memory care. Marquee Hope Village Memory Care is located at 1589 South Ivy Street in Canby. It is now open for tours and admissions. For more information, you can call 503-266-0400 or visit marqueecompanies.com.
And now, a message from Donna Ellison of Ellison Team Homes.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to take this moment to invite you personally to come and hang out with us for our end of season client event. It's a thank you to all the wonderful people we've done business with, as well as a welcome to a lot of our community. I'm doing this in partnership with Vanessa Zimmerman team at Academy Mortgage. It's just kind of our way of saying thank you. We've really enjoyed getting to know you, doing business with you, etc. We'll be outside. We're sensitive to the fact that we're in COVID, still dealing with that. So it will be spread out. People will have room to breathe and sit and walk and talk. Reckless Company, if you've never heard them before, they're awesome. They're going to be playing. We'll have TMK here. I can't wait to try the corn dog. I've been waiting like 2 years to try this corn dog. So it looks amazing, and I've heard it's amazing, and I think there's quite a following. Also, they'll have all kinds of other food. We'll have beer and cider. Everything's hosted, of course, as a thank you. Again, it's for our clients. It's for our community. We really, really want to come and celebrate. We'll have swag for you, all kinds of fun things for the kids. We hope to see you on 9/16 from 4 to 8 in the afternoon.
And welcome back to the ad sponsor section where I get to talk to people about books because I always drag Megan Waterman in here to be with me. Hi, Megan.
Hi. That's not a bad thing. Talking about books is always the best time.
I think you know of all people that I can talk about books endlessly.
I do.
Yeah. So, Megan, do you want to tell our listeners about what's going on down at the Book Nook?
Oh, at the Book Nook, we are getting ready for the holidays.
Yeah.
I know.
There's only one I care about. And by the time this ad comes out, it's basically over.
Are you talking about Halloween?
Yeah, I like spooky, scary stories.
I know you do. We've got a lot of great spooky, scary stories in right now.
Yeah? Yeah?
We do, but spooky, scary stories are also good for Christmas. Do you have a favorite author that writes spooky, scary stories that are appropriate for Christmas?
You go with your classic Charles Dickens, right?
Yep.
Some Christmas Carol stuff.
Absolutely, that's my favorite.
That's the best. There's M.R. James. I know about him. He did a whole series of short short, scary stories for Christmas?
Short, scary stories? I don't know. Christmas in general is kind of scary. Depends on how many people you have to buy for.
How many people you have to cook dinner for?
Right.
Speaking of cooking dinner, Thanksgiving is coming up.
Thanksgiving is coming. We have got some beautiful cookbooks in recently, and some really cute kids cookbooks just came in if you want to start cooking with your grandkids or starting to train up your little ones to cook Thanksgiving dinner so you can just sit on the couch and watch football.
And right now is the time to go in, right?
Yes.
Because waiting until Christmas Eve for that one special book that someone wants isn't going to work out.
It's not going to be there. This year, it's no secret, the last year and a half has been a little crazy for the whole world. And that is really going to affect Christmas this year. There are going to be serious stock issues this year. So get your Christmas shopping done early. We've been working really hard to get as much inventory on our shelves and in our overstock as possible so that we have what you want at Christmas time. But if you know now a title that you want to buy for somebody for Christmas, get it now. Because it might not be... I might not be able to get it later.
And what is all three of ours? Because we also have Amy in the studio with us. What's all three of ours this season's book recommendation?
Okay.
Amy, what's your book recommendation for this season?
The Night Before Christmas.
All right. Yeah, that's classic. Megan?
And for me, my favorite Christmas read? Okay, my favorite book that's coming out it's no secret I am an Outlander fan. I love Diana Gabaldon. There may be a cardboard cutout of Jamie Fraser in our bookstore. Book boyfriends are a thing.
Yeah.
And finally, book 9 is coming out towards the end of November. So you will not see me until I finish reading that.
And mine is the Dungeons and Dragons Feast of Legends or whatever, the table. So make sure you guys come on down to Book Nook. Megan, where are you guys located?
We are on the corner of Grant and 2nd in downtown Canby.
All right.
All right. Tell us your name and where you were born and when.
Yeah, my name is Walter Fultz, and I was born in Minnesota on the Plum Creek.
Yeah?
Right outside of Walnut Grove.
Okay.
That's where the little house in the prairie was started, I guess you'd say, on Plum Creek.
Were you born in a log cabin?
No, but I was born right alongside the creek.
Actually, along the creek, outside?
Oh, yeah. Ruth was all excited about that. So we toured that years ago. So.
So not in a hospital or anything? You were born?
No. Most of the people were born in my age and at home.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were born at a house along the creek or actually outside?
The house.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that I was born down by the creek, and I thought maybe they was on a picnic or something.
Yeah, out kayaking or something.
My uncle took us by, and the house still looked good in '83 when we were there. So.
Yeah. When were you born?
1933, June the 8th.
Yeah. What was your childhood like? What was your childhood like?
Well, we moved to Bandon, Oregon when I was 2 years old, right on the coast.
Yeah.
Or I should say we moved, first year we was at Jefferson, and then the town of Bandon burned down to the ground.
Right.
In 36, so right after the fire, we moved to 1936. I had an aunt and an uncle that had a gas station there, so.
Yeah. What was that like in Bandon growing up?
Well, we were 3 miles out of town. Went to a little country school, and I think they had 4 grades in one room.
Yeah.
I used to sit there. I was the only one in the 3rd grade, one for a half a year.
Yeah. Didn't have any classmates. Did you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I had My brother Lloyd, he's 4 years older than I am, and then my other brother Jack was 10 years older. So. And then my sister was about 6 years older, I guess. So.
Okay, yeah. What did your parents do, either for work or?
Yes, Dad was a farmer in Minnesota. He lost a couple of crops, and so my mom encouraged him to move out to Bandon, where her sister was living.
Yeah.
And so he took him 9 months to get a job down at the sawmill.
Mm-hmm.
This was right in the Depression, so.
Yeah. Was that a difficult time?
Yes, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember much, but.
Yeah.
But then Pearl Harbor happened when I was 9.
Mm.
And so the little town really brightened up. We had a lot of Jeeps and trucks driving around and blimps overhead. And,
yeah.
On the ocean, we had Coast Guard patrol on horseback.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There was a lot of fear that Japan would attack the coast.
Right, yeah.
Attack Oregon from the coast.
So it was pretty exciting for a 9-year-old. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you and your friends fight the war, pretend, things like that? Or?
Oh, yeah. We killed more Germans and Japs and Italians.
Than Captain America. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting times.
Yeah. So for the generation that's a little older than you, Grandpa, Pearl Harbor was a big motivating factor for many of them in going into the service, to fight the Nazis and the Axis powers. Yeah. You obviously weren't old enough then, but you talked about how you remember how that made an impression on you. Do you feel like that was a catalyst for you in your eventual decision to join the military when you did, when you were old enough after the war had ended?
Probably, but my older brother was 10 years older than I was, so he was 19.
Okay.
But he was in the Navy.
And during World War II?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
that was Jack?
Jack, yeah. They were towing a target, a big target they shoot at with ships, and a cable snapped and hit him in the arm, and he got a medical discharge. But yeah.
Did he recover from that?
Yeah, he was a truck driver. He had a lot of strength in that right hand.
Yeah.
Because when I was about 17, I tried him one day. I crooked down on his hand.
Yeah.
And I was down on my knees. I thought he was going to break my hand.
The one that was wounded, or the other one?
No, the good one.
The good one was really strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nature's way of making up.
Compensating.
Yeah.
Did he lose his left arm, or just weaker?
He could use it.
A little bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, so he was discharged from the service at that point, became a truck driver.
Discharged.
Yeah.
And my middle brother, he was 4 years older, and he joined the Navy, and I joined in 1850. I guess he joined in about 48 or 49 before the Korean War started. So.
Yeah.
And when I got out of boot camp, I put in to get on his ship.
Mm-hmm.
And he met me at the quarterdeck and says, I told you not to put in for this lousy ship. And I says, thanks a lot, brother. I did. And so the ship was in the Mare Island shipyards and close to San Francisco.
Yeah.
So this was spring of 1951.
Yeah.
And when the ship got out of the yards, well, that's when we headed overseas then. So
yeah. You fudged a little bit about your age to get in, didn't you?
No, my dad signed for me.
Okay, you were 17, but
No, I was 17. Just
17.
4 days later, I wanted to get in on my birthday. But
okay, so you were almost 17.
Well, I was 17 plus 4 days.
Okay,
gotcha. That's all legal.
Okay. Yeah, and that was allowed with parental consent.
As long as the parents signed for us.
Okay.
He asked me what would I do if I didn't sign for me, and I said, well, I'll wait until next year. And so he went ahead, and I wasn't doing real good in school. Like I was looking out the window a lot, dreaming about going to sea.
Was the war on at that point with Korea? Had it started?
Yes, it started on June the 5th, 25th, 1950.
Okay, and when did you go in?
I went in 13 days before it started. I went in the 12th of June. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so it hadn't broken out yet.
No, so I went in peacetime, and then 13 days later it was.
What did you think when the war broke out?
Oh, at that age, I don't know. We were so busy there in boot camp.
Yeah. Didn't even pay much attention to it. Yeah.
Trying to survive.
What was boot camp like?
In San Diego, California.
Yeah. Hot?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you remember from boot camp?
Oh, I remember learning quite a bit. Like our company commander said that he couldn't make us do anything. And I thought, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
He said, but I can make you wish to hell you had done it. And they said, oh, okay.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any problems with the physical? I mean, you're a big, strong guy, right?
No, I didn't have any problems with that. We had 100 boys in our barracks. So we had a lot of fist fights in there.
Yeah.
Because we had people from one end of the Pacific Ocean to the East Coast.
Yeah. Were you involved in any of that?
Oh, a couple times, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, just people of different backgrounds and whatnot getting into it, or?
I think you'll remember that story I wrote when I was in boot camp, and one of the boot camp leaders told me to get the end of the line.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll get even with you.
Yeah.
And when I was coming back from Chow, I met my buddy who he beat up.
Yeah.
And then they said, you're waiting for you. So when I got there, everybody was watching.
Yeah.
So I took my watch off, my jumper, and went in the office, and he said, shut the door. And then he faked a punch at me just to see if I would cower, and I hit him in the mouth with my left jab.
Yeah.
And then I'd noticed I was down in the corner of the room. I don't know how I got there. And when I was getting up, he hit me in the head, and that was the end of the fight.
Yeah.
And which was lucky for me.
Yeah.
But that was about the worst thing, I guess, that happened to me there. But,
yeah. Yeah. So made it through boot camp, and then what happened?
We went from boot camp to Treasure Island. I was waiting to get a ride over to a ship. It's just maybe 50 miles away. It was in the Mare Island shipyards.
Yeah.
And so finally I got a private car, and it drove me over to the shipyards, and I went aboard the ship then. So.
Yeah. And where was it? Was it headed for Korea?
Yeah, we was in the yards, and this was in September of 50. And so we got out of the yards in February and went to sea, and sea trials, they call it. And they put a lot of heavy landing craft on top of our A deck, on our top deck. And we were top heavy. And we went out under the Golden Gate Bridge, and I was really excited. And the boat said, you know what rat guards are?
No.
Anyhow, they're big metal things they put around the lines to keep the rats from coming aboard.
Okay.
Or getting off the ship.
Yeah.
He said, stole the rat guards. And I was busy doing that. And the ship, the engineers on there was measuring it. It was really top heavy. It was almost dangerous.
Yeah.
So they made a U-turn, and the boats come by, and he says, break out the rat guards. And I said, just stored them.
Yeah.
So we went back under the Golden Gate Bridge, and then they put several tons of ballast down in the bilges, which made us stable then.
Yeah.
But that was kind of exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we shipped out, I think it was early March.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember much about that moment of leaving the United States, I guess, for the first time in your life?
No, I was just looking forward to everything.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. What was life on board the ship like?
Well, we, being a new guy, I'll get my thoughts going here. I was, of course, a junior guy in the whole fleet, so I took a lot of flack from some of the other guys that was, good-natured kidding and one thing and another because they were old timers,
Yeah.
And they called me a boot. And I said, I'm not a boot. I'm out of boot camp.
Yeah.
He says, you're a boot till you've been on here for at least a year. And I thought, oh, no. But 2 weeks later, we got to Yosuka. I guess they call it Yoka. And had orders to go to Okinawa, and we loaded up a lot of war stuff there, jeeps and small artillery and guns and all stuff, and took them up to Incheon, Korea.
Yeah.
Which was the second invasion. The big invasion was in September of 1950.
Right.
We were in the boot camp then.
Right.
So we unloaded everything onto smaller vessels, and they took them into the beach. And then we went back to Okinawa and did that again. So
yeah,
that was kind of a little bit scary.
Yeah. Yeah. What was scary about it?
Well, we had blackouts at night when unidentified airplanes were flying over,
Right.
And then we were in the war zone.
Yeah. Yeah. Could you hear the fighting?
No, we couldn't hear the fighting.
Yeah. Yeah. But you knew it was going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the drivers and everybody on our ship we was unloading them, and they went with their vehicles up the Han River. I guess they got into it pretty bad up there. So.
Yeah, yeah.
After a while, we went to Sasebo Harbor, Japan, and we rode through a typhoon. In in that part of the country, they call them typhoons. So.
Yeah.
And before the typhoon hit, our captain, he was a nervous type guy, and I was a helmsman then.
Yeah.
And I was on duty up in the helms. And he was pacing back and forth. And it was calm yet, because the storm wasn't going to hit till that night. But he was drinking coffee, and out on the wing of the bridge, they had a latrine.
Uh-huh.
So I went out there and relieved myself. And I was coming back in, and I heard him going, "Helmsman, where's my helmsman?" I said, "Right here, sir." "What would I have done if he weren't here?" Oh, and he was really shook up.
Yeah. Very nervous.
And he says, "You stand behind the helm at parade rest for the rest of your watch."
Right.
And then the storm hit that night.
Yeah.
And it was pretty bad.
It's kind of funny. It reminds me of Gideon, my 5-year-old. I'll like go around a corner or whatnot, and he doesn't see me for a second, and he's instantly like tears, crying, and whatnot, and people looking around for me. I'm like, I'm right here.
Yeah, what happened there?
Yeah. Yeah. I always tell people, it's like, it's okay. Just 'cause I abandon him all the time. We're always just leaving now. Was the storm pretty bad?
Yes, it was. And a week before that, I got hit in the head, and I had right between the eyes, I had several stitches. And I had to, every time this LST broke loose, it was trying to keep from running into us or any other ships. But every time it got within a certain distance, they'd sound general alarm. We had to jump up, dress, and run up topside.
Yeah.
And the wind was blowing, 100 miles an hour, I guess. And I kept putting my hand up. I just knew I was going to get hit in the head.
Yeah.
And this happened about 3 times, I guess. One time, another guy got my pants.
What?
Yeah, we all sleep, everybody was grabbing stuff and putting it on.
Yeah.
And because I think we had to run topside about 3 times,
Yeah.
But it was pretty exciting. You couldn't tell where the water and the air was separated. It was just blowing so hard.
Wow.
And our TV antenna on our ship was bent, but at least we got to ride it out because we was moored to a real heavy-duty mooring buoy.
Yeah.
And the other ships cut loose and rode it out to sea,
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Was it cold?
No, this was in the summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know there are parts of the Korean War that were, for some of the service members, were very cold.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
When we were, I call it steaming, when we were steaming north along the west coast of Korea, it was below freezing then.
Yeah.
And we had condition when able. We had everybody stand by their gun mounts and everything. And
yeah.
And then another humorous thing, the captain was up on the bridge looking out at all of us guys standing around. And he told the chief, he says, let those guys take a bucket of water up there and they can wash paintwork. And he said, well, sir, he says, it's below freezing out there.
Yeah.
And captains are never wrong.
Right.
So he says, well, they can take their buckets up there anyway.
Yeah.
So it worked pretty good because we used the buckets to sit on. That was kind of fun, but it was cold.
Yeah.
But not like the soldiers. We had a warm place to sleep and hot food, So.
Right. Right. You never actually landed on Korea. You never actually stepped foot on Korea during your service.
We did in Busan.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, in Busan. When you first got there or after?
Oh, we came into Busan several times.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was where you would restock or something?
Yeah. I'm not too sure what we did.
Okay. Gotcha.
I don't remember restocking, but
yeah,
it was a place to come in port.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you remember from your service? I mean, did you feel like you were, accomplishing something?
Oh, yes, we did, because we were on a 6-month tour, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah.
And when we before the 6 months was up, we went to Hong Kong, China for R&R. And that was interesting. Had a pretty good time.
Yeah.
And then when our 6 months was up, we were all excited because we thought we were heading home.
Yeah.
And the captain volunteered for 3 more months. So we went to Kobe, Japan, and unloaded all our landing craft that was on our ship.
Yeah.
And filled our holds full with supplies. Then we went to Wonsan Harbor, which was still in the war zone.
Mm-hmm.
And going into the harbor, we was thinking about the 2 minesweepers that were sunk and the sailors that were killed.
Yeah.
Sweeping the mines out of the harbor. So
yeah.
So we were hoping we would making sure that they got all the mines.
Yeah.
And then we went in and anchored. And then cruisers and destroyers would send their smaller boats by and pick up supplies.
Yeah.
And one interesting thing, our anchor chain, when we dropped the anchor, we had a removable pin.
Mm-hmm.
So if we took fire, we could just pull the pin out,
right,
drop the chain, and then get underway without taking time to reel in the anchor chain. So
right.
We had a little wooden buoy on it with a 100-foot of rope.
Yeah.
So we'd know where to come back and pick it up. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we made 2 trips in, and that was kind of exciting,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. So how long was your tour with the Navy?
Was I who?
How long were you with the Navy in service?
5 years.
5 years. And how long over in Korea?
I was board ship for 27 months.
Okay.
Yeah, we was over 9 months the first time, and then the fall of 52, we went back over again.
Okay. Were you in service when the ceasefire was agreed to?
Oh, yeah. I stayed in the 55, and the ceasefire was in 53, July 27th. So.
Gotcha. What was that like?
I was in the States at that time, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
were you happy?
Yeah. We was a little disappointed that we didn't win.
Right.
But we knew the shooting was stopping anyway, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd hoped for something much more decisive.
Oh, sure. Yeah, because we pushed the North Koreans to the Yalu River, and then when 300,000 Chinese come over, they pushed us clear back down to Pusan.
Right.
And then they fought their way back to the 32nd parallel, which was dividing between the North and South.
Right.
So that's where it ended, almost where it started. So.
Right. And what's now the DMZ?
Yeah. And I think there was 34,000 Americans died in that war.
Yeah.
17 nations provided a small amount of men.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't good.
Yeah. You got out in 1955.
Yes.
You're just ready to do other things, or your time was up, or what was your decision?
That was my enlistment was up for.
Yeah.
Because I enlisted for 4 years, and then on my second, I get you all mixed up. My second deployment, we went over in the fall.
Yeah.
Well, I got a letter from my wife that she had a miscarriage, and I'd already told them that I would sign up for UDT training, but then I told them, when they said I had to extend a year, I says, forget it.
Yeah.
I went down below, and there's a letter on my bunk from my wife, so I went back up and told them to sign me up, and so then they flew me home. So.
Yeah. So you agreed to another year so that you could leave to go see Ruth?
No, in order to get into UDT training, they had to have at least 2 years.
Okay.
And I had a year and a half left in.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't go for 6 months, so I had to sign up for a year or so.
Gotcha.
But I wanted to get home so bad, That was their second miscarriage. So.
Yeah. You didn't have any children at that point?
No.
Yeah.
That was Karen. Karen was the first one.
Was the first one, yeah. She hadn't been born yet. Yeah. When did you meet Ruth? When did you meet Ruth?
In high school.
Yeah.
I was a year behind her because I had to repeat the 7th grade. Teacher liked me so good.
Yeah. Wanted to keep you around another year.
And then my good friend had 2 sisters that Ruth liked to visit, and then I visited my friend. That's how we got acquainted. So.
Yeah. What did you think of her?
I thought she was real nice.
Yeah.
Real kind of gal I would like.
Yeah.
Except I was not dating because I was going to be a career Navy man.
Oh, you wanted to be in there for a career? Yeah. I didn't know that. So you were thinking you'd be a career Navy man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the way through boot camp, I was really doing good.
So what changed?
Well, before we shipped out the first time, right out of boot camp, when our ship was in the yards, I hitchhiked home and I took Ruth out to a movie.
Yeah. Was that your first date? Was that your first date?
Yeah.
What'd you see?
Yeah, we saw the Winchester 73. I remember that.
Okay.
And it was just a half a mile, so we walked, and then I walked her back home.
Uh-huh.
And then I hitchhiked home from Frisco about 3 more times before we shipped out. So.
Yeah.
And then she wrote me every day, and I wrote her mostly every day. And that was our, what do you call it when you're dating?
Courtship.
Courtship was by mail.
Yeah.
So in those 9 months, we got to know each other pretty good, and we decided that when I got back, we'd get married. So when they got back in January of 1952, I took 30 days leave.
Yeah.
And went to Oregon, and we were married. So we were 18 years old. I think our parents were a little edgy about that.
Much later in life, you and Ruth went back to Korea, right? As a guest of the Korean government, South Korean government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Korean War Veterans Association, and they have I attend, member of, they had a revisit program.
Yeah.
And they paid my round trip ticket to South Korea and half of my wife's.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to go to Seoul, and we were there, I think it was six days and 5 nights.
Yeah.
And they give us tours and banquets. Mm-hmm. Those Korean people they're just so thankful that they're not living like North Korea.
Yeah.
And they did this for 20-some years. They'd send, because there was at least over 100 veterans a year would go there and be and
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a really interesting case study when you look at geopolitics, because you can say countries turn out different sometimes because of their size or where they are or their just their resources or whatnot. No country has a purely even playing field. But then you can look at North and South Korea because they're the same island, same location, same basic resources, very similar in size, and extremely different qualities of life for their residents, mainly because of political and economic policies and practices. So
yeah, South Korea, I think now is the 7th largest economy.
Mm-hmm.
And the North Koreans are Koreans too. They could be just as prosperous if it wasn't for the
same language, same very similar culture. Yeah, same background. Did you also do the honor flight out to DC?
No, I signed up for it before the pandemic hit.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So that hasn't started back up quite yet, or
I haven't heard.
Yeah.
One of our veterans went on that flight. And he was about 90 years old, and he come back and he was just exuberant. He was still happy about it.
Yeah.
3 days later, he died. So he died happy.
I'm grateful that's sad, but grateful that he was able to have that.
That's what I thought.
Just in time. Wow, that's kind of amazing. When you look back on your service, I guess what are your thoughts? I know there's some feeling and some I guess I don't know if you want to say regret or resentment, but you sometimes hear Korean War vets feel like that their service was forgotten. That was a forgotten war. Do you ever feel that way?
No, not that much. In order to get it through Congress or whatever, they call it a police action, and that stuck with us all the time.
Yeah,
they didn't declare war, and when we still have this stigma of being a police action.
Yeah.
Well, it went on for 3 years.
Yeah.
And in 3 years, they lost 34,000 Americans, and in Vietnam was 10 years. They lost 40-some. So you can see how severe it was, So
yeah.
But I was glad I was in the Navy, and I could say I joined 2 weeks before it started, but I was following my 2 brothers in. So
yeah.
But
and it must have felt very rewarding or fulfilling to go there, many years later and see the gratitude and just the difference that you and your other fellow service members were able to make in that country. And then so many, I mean, at that point you're seeing the impact in future generations, like which is pretty cool.
Because where we unloaded at Incheon in September, when they made the first invasion, well, they took Seoul within, I think, a week. That was the capital.
Yeah.
But Seoul changed hands 4 times. And each time they would blow up stuff so the next guy wouldn't have anything.
Yeah.
4 times back and forth. And when we went there in about 7 years ago, it's a beautiful city. There's like 12 million people there, and then another 12 million outside the area.
Yeah.
But the streets and everything, you don't see. I better not get into politics.
Yeah.
But they're clean.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're tall buildings that they live in or has numbers on them because they're just oodles of them, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's a beautiful city now.
Yeah.
And they got the Hyundai automobile that they're see a lot of them here, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, and of course the guys who actually saw it when it was bombed and shelled down to a shell, and then when they went back, they was more surprised than I was because I didn't see it when it was in the worst, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made us feel good that there's that appreciative.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Well, I know this isn't really in your nature, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. I'd love to know. Do you have any sort of words of wisdom or things that you feel like you've learned in your life that you would pass on to the next generation?
The wisdoms, you mean? You
Yeah.
said? Oh.
Yeah. Words of wisdom, things that you've picked up, or things that you wish people would know in the next generation.
Well, mainly, it's our younger generation that isn't as patriotic as we were, that survived the Second World War.
Yeah.
And it's not their fault. But, well, and like in Switzerland, I met a Swiss man when I was fishing in Alaska. And he said they all served, I think, 2 years to the military.
Yeah.
Which really gives you a good start, you know.
Yeah.
And then when after the 2 years, they give them a automatic rifle and ammo to keep in their closet.
Yeah.
They have to keep it in their closet. And he says in the summer, they take them out and let them practice. He says, we don't have any burglaries in Switzerland. Not that I kind of got off the subject, but I've talked to a lot of guys who went into boot camp, some of them before they was 17, because they had a hard time at home or poor or what have you.
Yeah.
And after 12 weeks of training, you learn a lot about everything, you know.
Yeah.
How to obey and do what they tell you to do. And maybe that's not going to fit in now, but I think we could do a better job in our schools and really point out some of the advantages of, well, military life. I'm not much of a philosopher.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
Hey, Francke, what are you doing?
I'm trying to figure out which TV option I want to use when DirectLink turns off their video services in January of next year. It's so confusing. Do you know there's about 48 million streaming services to choose from? Which devices do they work on? What channels do they offer?
No, I did not know that. But you do realize that you're probably better off than you think. If you have DirectLink's Easy Video TV now, you're already using a streaming service. But listen, you don't have to go this alone. DirectLink is actually helping their members transition to their next video provider. The company has an extensive informational website where you can compare popular services, and they host live tutorials on streaming TV options to help you decide.
Well, hold the phone. Are you saying that they're actively trying to help their members switch to a competing service? Who does that?
Well, DirectLink does. I mean, I guess it's one more chapter in their long history of wanting the best for our community. They've actually offered free classes for the past 12 years that teach our neighbors about the latest technology and internet security practices. And don't forget, they also orchestrated that popular bingo game last year that helped keep everyone entertained and connected during the lockdowns. They've also launched special programs to help keep our students connected at home during the pandemic, and partnered with the city of Canby to give free Wi-Fi year-round at 3 local parks for locals and visitors alike.
Wait, Direct Link does all that?
They do indeed, and that's on top of providing the best and most reliable internet and voice services in town. So, to learn more about Direct Link services or how they can help you transition to the right video service for your home, visit directlink.coop today.
Are you a healthcare hero? Do you want to become one? Are you looking for a position where you are valued, your time is your own, and you have ample opportunity for growth? Marquee Companies at Hope Village in Canby, Oregon offers all of that and more. They are currently hiring nurses, caregivers, CNAs, and enrolling students in their free CNA course. From competitive wages and up to $25,000 tuition reimbursement to flexible schedules and the opportunity to make a positive impact on someone's life, Marquee at Hope Village is the right place for you. Take your career to the next level and apply now to become a valued team member at Marquee at Hope Village in Canby. To learn more or apply today, text CURRENT, that's CURRENT, to 888-906-3432.
All right, yeah, if you would just tell me your full name, rank, and spell it if you would as well.
Shandor Pongratz, apparatus operator, Clackamas Fire, SANDOR PONGRACZ.
Awesome. Tell me about the boat here.
So this is a SJX 21-foot sport jet that we acquired through a Spire grant through the state of Oregon in 2018. It just took a little bit to actually get the boat and the funding for it, but it's designed for low water capabilities, which will help us here on the Clackamas River in the summertime.
Extremely shallow water, right?
Yeah.
Like 2 to 3 inches.
Yeah,
that's pretty incredible.
So yeah, in the summertime the river gets pretty low, and we get a lot of people float in the river. And there's times where we have to either hike in or we have to float in with rafts.
Yeah.
And so this will allow us to go to certain sections of the river without having a little quicker for some better outcomes for people.
Yeah. Can you speak to some of the design elements that allow it to operate in waters that shallow?
Yeah, so the power to weight ratio, the boat and trailer, I think, are 3,400 pounds, weight, and the horsepower is 200 horsepower.
Wow.
And it's got a tunnel hole design that just allows the water to just get forced into the jet pump, which is basically what creates us to right on top of the surface of the water. And then it has a special 3/8 inch black ice plastic coating on the bottom. So like if it gets really shallow, it'll still allow it to slide across any small gravel bars or things like that.
You guys hop out and push it, or
we can push it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has a lot of those kind of features, but basically it's like fast and light.
Yeah.
It's a workhorse. It's not really anything spectacular, but it gets the job done.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you mentioned, shallow water, especially in the summer and whatnot, something that you guys out on the water would encounter pretty frequently in our area.
Yeah, we're out here quite a bit in the summertime.
Yeah.
I think some of the numbers they say are, in the weekends we can get 3,000 people a day floating this river.
Yeah.
And then it also has actually a pretty impressive light package on the front.
Have a look.
Yeah, it's big LEDs, floodlights. We actually used it the other day on a car that went into the river.
Right. Yeah.
So
you guys used it pretty quick.
Yeah. Normally we use night vision,
Uh-huh.
and we still do, but this just helps us. It's just another tool in the toolbox to get out there and light up for our calls that are at night.
Yeah, yeah. And this boat really made a difference in that call, right? I think they were looking to coordinate kind of the more traditional approach. If they were doing airlift,
rope system.
Ropes, okay, right. But this was
system.
just let's give this a shot, and it worked.
Let's give it a shot, yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. So yeah, those are some pretty high-powered lights. So obviously, extremely shallow waters, 2 to 3 inches, potentially you guys could just walk out there. But the fact that this can transition from that to then deeper waters and go with the speed that it can is what really makes a difference.
Yeah, and actually the beauty of this boat is you don't have to be going that fast. So the weight ratio to the power and the design behind it allows you to go at slower speeds yet still staying up on plane.
Yeah.
Which is where we want to be. So, and when that water's shallow and there's obstacles in the river like floaters and rafters, we have to be able to navigate that as well in the summertime.
Yeah. Shandor, I understand that you were a part of the team that procured this? Is that right? Or
yeah, we had a couple of a station captain who's battalion chief now that wrote the grant. I kind of was one of the people that helped. We demoed in a couple different boat manufacturers, and then ended up with this one, which is built out of Orofino, Idaho.
Okay, cool.
And they've been building these boats for a couple decades now, and they send a lot of them to Alaska, but they also send them all over the world.
Yeah, so they're for not just rescue and emergency, they're for recreation and pleasure.
Backcountry stuff, and then they the military in some of the parts of the world have used them in the jungles and stuff. So they're a proven boat.
Yeah. What's the planned use for this? Where will it live? How often do you think it might be used, or what circumstances?
So right now it's housed at Station 19 in Damascus, where our water rescue program is, and that's where it will be for now. And how often it'll be used just depends on the summertime and the call volumes that typically go out. But we also go out in the wintertime. Just whenever we need to be out there.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And you think primarily summer though, just because that's the usage.
The usage, but we'll train with it year round.
Yeah.
Do a lot of training with it. So
is Damascus one of your sort of primary water rescue storage places?
It's our water rescue station.
Yeah.
That's where the whole water rescue program lives. Okay. And then we can go from there down to here, down to Carver, down to Barton.
Yeah.
And kind of hit all aspects of the river.
And this is part of, it's obviously got the nice Clackamas Fire. You guys are the ones that use it and maintain it, but it's used by the consortium. Is that right? Or
so with the Spire grant that we got from the state of Oregon, basically those funds were awarded to us to purchase the boat, but it's owned by the state.
Yeah.
Which would allow them anytime there's any flooding anywhere in Oregon, we could be called up to take this to help and assist with any kind of flooding, rescue, evacuations, things like that. And so we were just to maintain it and use it, and then if we're called up, we'll take it out.
Okay, cool. And do state calls sort of take priority then if there's a statewide emergency and they need it, as opposed to local calls here then, or?
I'm not really sure. It's kind of a first year with this thing, so we'll kind of have to see how that goes. But I would imagine, we would probably just take this one and we'd leave our other boat here for the rest of the guys that are left behind.
Yeah. When this does go out, how many guys or crew members would crew it?
If it goes out to the state or just on
a call?
No,
for
there's 4 of us on duty every day, so 4 of us would go.
Would be in the boat?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's great. And is that its sort of capacity is in 4 with a possible patient?
We've had like 7 or 8 people in this thing, and it will still get up on step and go down the river in the shallowest of water. So it's we'll take you out here in a little bit, and you'll get a chance to see firsthand.
Yeah, very cool. You want to talk us through some of the controls here a little bit, or?
Other than the lighting, it's pretty not a ton of options on it. It's mostly just, the 200 horse sport jet, and the has some interior lighting. It's basic boat options, but
good sound system on it. No,
no good sound system.
Not too much. Does it have emergency rescue or certain equipment that goes with it, or?
It has onboard like bilge pump and things like that, and the blower for the engine compartment.
Yeah. Who gets to drive it?
We're all pretty much trained on it so far. Everybody at the station goes through rescue boat operator class.
Yeah.
And so we're pretty much all trained up to drive it.
Yeah.
We've just recently got this one, but we've all had a chance to get it out, get some training on it, and
very cool.
It's been a pretty impressive boat.
Yeah. It looks awesome. Because of its special design, can it be sort of put in the water in more types of situations, than doesn't always necessarily need a boat ramp or something like that, or?
It would just have to be kind of evaluated. Our biggest thing if we're not on a designated boat ramp is if it's summertime and the ground's all nice and hard.
Yeah.
We could probably launch from some makeshift thing, but if it's like this time of year, the ground gets pretty soft, and then we end up, potentially sinking.
Right.
And it'd be
not a good
no
situation.
good for anybody. So.
Right. Absolutely. Cool. Okay. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Awesome. Great.
Tyler, did you know that the Australian lyrebird can mimic any sound that it hears, even chainsaws?
No, that's super interesting.
Did you know that a baby puffin is called a puffling? Or that baby sea otters can't swim, so their moms wrap them up in pieces of kelp until they learn how to paddle.
Wait, do you know any trivia that isn't like animal related?
Not really, but here's some stuff you may not know about the Wild Hare Saloon, where Canby goes to eat and have fun.
Okay.
The Wild Hare is one of Canby's longest running locally owned restaurants. Owners Joan and Darren Moden have been in business for 16 years.
That's cool.
Yeah, heck, you were just a baby back then.
Wait, what?
And they love to give back. They've been members of the Canby Chamber for that long, and they donate over $20,000 to local sports, FFA programs, and civic organizations each year.
Wow, I'm legitimately caught off. That's cool.
Yeah, they also support more than 30 jobs in the community through their award-winning staff, some of them as young as 18. Hey, that's older than you are.
Dude, I'm 10 months younger than you.
With the days getting longer and the weather getting warmer, the Canby Wild Hare's expansive outdoor patio is the place to be. Furry friends welcome.
Well, that sounds great. I'm going to go check them out just off of Highway 99E next to the Space Age in Canby at 1656 Beaver Creek Road in Oregon City, or on their website at thewildharesaloon.net. Now Hear This Canby is produced by me, Tyler Clausen. Our content director and star reporter is Tyler Francke. And of course, our show is edited by Cameron Clausen. We also feature the vocal talents of Joyce Struby and James Walden. So a round of applause to them. The song that you're hearing right now is Canby by singer-songwriter Olivia Harms, used with her permission. To find more work from her, you can visit her website, olivia13.com.
Now Hear This Canby is dedicated to preserving independent local journalism and redefining local news with our fun, fresh, and energetic brand of storytelling. Our sincere thanks to our local sponsors who make this show possible. Please show your appreciation by supporting the small businesses who support us.
The production of Now Hear This Studios, Canby's locally owned full-service audio, video, and media production company. Our mission is to produce the best content in the universe, and we'd love to help you do it. Find us online at nhtstudios.com.
I will take a motion to adjourn.
I just moved it.
I didn't even ask for it, though.